The moment you hit play, something invisible started to move. You might think you clicked out of curiosity, but your soul knows it wasn't a coincidence. Because this video wasn't made for everyone. It only shows up for those who are ready. And if you're here, something in you has already started to remember. You'll notice it today, because in the next few minutes, you're not just going to hear about the secret of Thoth, you're going to feel it happening inside you. Something real, something that activates a forgotten frequency, the same one that lets you see beyond matter. But before we go on, leave a comment right now. I felt the call. That phrase is a vibrational key, and each person who comments strengthens the field this video carries. What you're about to experience here isn't a pretty theory, nor a mystical ritual. It's a revelation that shifts your perception, because Thoth didn't leave a manual, he left a code. And that code is revealing itself now, but only to those who stay until the end. So take a deep breath. Feel what's already starting to move inside you, because in the next few seconds, you're going to cross the point that separates the physical world from the invisible reality that's always been guiding you from behind the veil. The true light is not seen with the eyes, but recognized with the awakened spirit. When we talk about Thoth, we're not talking about a figure lost in the myths of the past. What we call a god was, in fact, a consciousness. An intelligence that manifested in different eras, different cultures, but always with the same purpose: to preserve the truth that cannot be erased. In ancient Egypt, they gave him the image of a being with the head of an ibis, because the ibis is a bird that walks between worlds, the earth and the sky, the mud and the light. And Thoth is exactly that, a messenger between dimensions, a coder of the invisible. But to limit Thoth to a statue or a character from mythology is to misunderstand his essence. He was never just a worshipped deity. He was, and still is, a guardian of vibrational portals. His presence moves through time, because it's not bound by time. It vibrates in the spaces between the visible and the invisible, in the fragments of wisdom that resisted being forgotten. And that's why you begin to feel his presence, even if you've never heard his name before. Have you ever wondered why certain ancient symbols still touch you in a way that's hard to explain? Or why names like Hermes, Tahuti, Enoch feel strangely familiar, even if you've never studied anything about them? It's because Thoth doesn't act through the mind. He vibrates through ancestral memory. He speaks to the part of you that already knows, but has been silenced. In ancient Egypt, he was called Jehuti, and he was described as the one who wrote destinies, who calculated celestial cycles, who measured time with divine precision. But what he truly measured wasn't chronological time. It was the hidden rhythms of the soul. Every heartbeat, every breath, every subtle choice was like a note in an invisible score that Thoth could read. And those who invoked him didn't do it to ask for miracles, but to remember the lost harmony. Thoth is directly connected to the origin of Hermetic teachings. He's pointed to as the mind behind the Emerald Tablet, a small text, but loaded with a vibrational density capable of altering the consciousness of anyone who contemplates it with presence. He didn't write just with words. He wrote with vibration. Every letter, every line carried a living geometry. It was as if the words were maps to access more subtle levels of reality. And this isn't a metaphor. Many accounts throughout history confirm that just by meditating on Hermetic principles, real changes begin to happen in a person's life. But what makes Thoth so special isn't what he said. It's how he taught. He didn't shout. He didn't perform theatrical miracles. He whispered. He left clues, like someone planting a riddle, hoping that only the attentive would notice. He knew that true awakening doesn't happen by force, but by recognition. And for that reason, everything he left behind was in the form of a key, a code waiting for someone with the right vibration to activate it. And now, maybe for the first time, you're feeling that vibration. It's not just any feeling, it's something deeper, as if something inside you is being rearranged. A wordless remembrance, a memory of a wisdom you've touched in another time. Because Thoth is that, a mirror for your highest consciousness. He doesn't give you answers. He shows you the way back to the right questions. His role was never to create followers. It was to create seekers. And that's why he's still alive. Not in physical temples, but in the subtle spaces between each conscious thought. When you're silent, he appears. When you observe, he speaks. When you align with truth, he recognizes you. But all of this was hidden, distorted, rewritten. And the reasons for that are as old as the very system of control that keeps humanity imprisoned. And that's exactly where we're going now. What was hidden from humanity, and why no one wanted you to find out? When Thoth's presence still vibrated in the temples and in the bodies of the initiates, the teachings were passed from soul to soul, from breath to breath. There were no books, no loose words on paper. There was vibration. Knowledge was transmitted like an invisible, silent fire that only ignited where there was enough dry wood to burn. But over time, that fire began to make people uncomfortable. Not because it was dangerous, but because it brought freedom. Those who dominated the external world realized that true power wasn't in weapons, or crowns, or thrones. True power was within, in the gaze of someone who had awakened. And that gaze couldn't be controlled. So they started sealing that knowledge. Not destroying it, but burying it, distorting it, turning vibrational truth into dogmatic belief. And so began the erasure. The phrase, "as above, so below," was emptied, turned into a mystical catchphrase. But those who live by this phrase know that it's a code. It reveals the hidden structure of reality. What is above, in the subtle world, is identical to what is below, in the material world. The outer is a reflection of the inner. And that's why everything you see on the outside can be transformed from within. That is true vision. A vision that doesn't depend on the eyes, but on the state of consciousness. And that's exactly what they didn't want you to know. Because if you understand that the external reality is a direct reflection of what you vibrate, then no one can control you anymore. You don't need mediators. You don't need intermediaries. You become sovereign. And a sovereign being doesn't serve the system's interests. That's why what was once freely shared among initiates started being protected by symbols, metaphors, and layers of secrecy. The truth was encoded, disguised in myths, hidden in manuscripts, concealed under the cloak of institutionalized religion. And worst of all, what was once pure expansion became a threat. The Emerald Tablet, one of the most powerful texts ever written, stopped being studied with the heart and started being analyzed like a logical puzzle. But it wasn't meant to be understood with the common mind. It vibrates, it pulses, it activates. And when Thoth wrote in it that all is mind, he wasn't talking philosophy. He was talking structure, origin, about how everything you call reality is, in essence, a thought in continuous vibration. That phrase alone is enough to break the illusion of separation. Because if the all is mind, and you are part of the all, then your mind plays an active role in creating reality. You are not a victim of what happens. You are a co-creator. But this awareness was torn from the center of humanity. And what was put in its place? Fixed beliefs. absolute truths, doctrines that limit instead of expand. The vision beyond the physical wasn't erased by accident. It was muffled so that you would settle for what you can see, touch, measure. So you would forget that matter is just the shell of something much deeper. Because when you see what's behind the form, everything changes. The rules stop working, the structures lose control, and the game ends. But that knowledge didn't die. It only withdrew. And now, little by little, it's starting to rise again. Not through institutions, but through you, through me, through all who are starting to remember that there is something beyond the visible. And this remembering isn't theoretical. It's vibrational. It arrives like a chill, like a presence silently watching you. And when that presence touches your perception, something moves inside. A subtle shift that no one else sees, but you feel. Like the air around you getting denser, like time slowing down. Like for a moment, you are between two worlds. This is the point where vision begins to open. Not like a sudden flash or an extraordinary phenomenon, but like a subtle shift in the air. Something becomes different. You look at the same street, the same people, the same sky, but something no longer fits the same way. It's as if the world starts to reveal its hidden layers, as if behind everything there was another invisible layer that's always been there, waiting to be noticed. This moment doesn't shout, it whispers, and if you're paying attention, you'll notice. It's a vibration that starts pulsing in silence. An invisible, almost imperceptible field that surrounds all things. Suddenly, you feel the walls breathe, the trees listen to you. Time no longer flows the same. It's not hallucination, it's expanded perception. It's what Thoth called vision before form, feeling before understanding, presence before thought. Everything around you stays the same, but something inside you starts to change. The activation of consciousness doesn't happen because someone explains something to you. It happens when you feel, in your body, that you are present in something greater, and that presence is alive. It doesn't distract you, it moves through you. It's like a forgotten part of you is beginning to wake up from the inside, like the soul rising after a deep sleep. This is the beginning of alignment with the vibrational field, but that can only happen when you pause, when the external noise gives space to internal silence, because it's in silence that the invisible moves. And so now, I'm going to guide you through a simple but extremely powerful exercise. You don't need to close your eyes, just pause for a moment. Take a deep, conscious breath. Feel the air coming in, feel the air going out. Don't try to control anything. Just observe. Observe the breath as if it were a gentle wave moving through you. Now, notice that this simple act has already taken you to another place. A place where time slows down, where thoughts don't rule. A place of presence. Stay there, even as you hear my voice. You are now in contact with the vibrational field. It has no form. It doesn't need to prove its existence. But you feel it, and as you feel it, you begin to see with different eyes. The eyes of the soul, because only the soul can recognize what the ordinary senses can't reach. And when that happens, everything starts to respond. The eye that sees through time, the portal is within you. When you enter this state of vibrational presence, you're not just more aware. You're beginning to touch a forgotten point within yourself, a point that doesn't belong to the body or to time. It's a silent yet pulsing core, a place from which everything is born, including your perception of reality. Thoth called this the hidden eye, a center of vision that doesn't depend on light or form. It's within you, but it doesn't work like the other senses. It doesn't observe objects. It pierces through layers. It doesn't see what's in front of you. It sees what's behind. It doesn't analyze, it recognizes. This is the eye that sees through time. Today, many know this point as the pineal gland, a small structure in the center of the brain, surrounded by mysteries and the subject of scientific and philosophical debate. But long before science even knew it existed, the initiates already knew. They didn't call it a gland, they called it a portal between worlds, a point of intersection between the physical and the subtle, between the now and the eternal. But this portal doesn't open with formulas or magic techniques. It responds to one single movement, the vibrational state of your consciousness. The more noise, the more it closes. The more presence, the more it awakens. And here's the detail that almost no one understands. It's not force that activates this eye. It's silence. When you breathe with attention, when you feel the air coming in and going out without trying to control it, when you simply observe the present without judgment, without expectation, without desire, something begins to shift. A vibration moves from the base of your body to the top of your head. It's subtle, but real, like a gentle wave that passes through you and, as it passes, seems to clear away a veil. You don't see images. You perceive connections. You don't understand through logic. You recognize through presence. This is the beginning of activation. Not because you did something, but because you stopped resisting. The hidden eye wasn't made to show you external miracles. It was made to dissolve time. Because time, as you know it, is a mental construct. And when that construct weakens, something extraordinary happens. You begin to remember, not with the mind, but with the body, with the soul, with a vibration that reconnects you to dimensions that have always been here, but were invisible to common perception. This kind of vision doesn't come from outside. It's born from within and projects light onto everything around you. You begin to notice patterns, synchronicities, symbols that once seemed random. Things begin to communicate with you, not with words, but with presence. A book falling off a shelf, a number repeating itself, a song playing at the exact right moment. The universe starts responding to you because you stopped shouting and started listening. And here's something fundamental. What activates this eye isn't effort, it's alignment. When you are in vibrational coherence with your inner truth, this center awakens naturally. And the awakening is not an event, it's a process. It starts with small perceptions, it grows with trust, and it deepens with surrender. And when it opens, even for a few moments, you understand that you're no longer limited to your body, and in that feeling, your consciousness touches a subtle frontier, an almost imperceptible line that separates what you call me from the rest of existence. Except when you cross that line, you realize it never really existed. It was a mental illusion, a structure created to protect something that never needed protection, your essence. And it is in this moment, when presence is so deep that time seems to dissolve, that something begins to happen. The body remains still, but you feel that you are somewhere else. Thoth called this the double nature, the physical body and the subtle vehicle, a consciousness that can move beyond matter without needing the body to follow. This is not a modern idea. It's not a new concept. It's ancient knowledge, preserved in the deepest traditions of Egypt, of India, of the star peoples. Thousands of accounts have crossed the centuries describing this same experience. The body rests, but the being stays awake, moves, observes, crosses layers of reality that once seemed unreachable. This phenomenon is not daydreaming. It's not delusion. It's the beginning of the journey beyond matter. It's when you start to realize that your consciousness is not locked inside your skull. It is much greater, much freer, and it knows where to go. During sleep, most people shut down, but some, even with the body asleep, keep their awareness alive. And it's in this state of subtle wakefulness that lucid dreams begin to happen. Conscious projections, deep dives into planes where time flows differently. In these experiences, space doesn't behave like it does here. Objects don't follow the usual physical laws. And you understand intuitively that you're not in a dream. You're in another kind of reality. A reality that pulses, that communicates, that teaches. The place where reality begins. The vibrational field of creation. You realize you're not just in another place. You're inside a living, vibrant, intelligent structure. A kind of field that responds to your consciousness even before you form a thought. Everything there pulses. Everything moves according to your vibration. And that's when you understand, with your whole body, what Thoth tried to teach humanity for millennia. Everything begins before form. Nothing you see in the physical world originates here. The origin is in the invisible, in the vibrational field of creation. This field is not a metaphor. It exists. And you've already been in it thousands of times, even without realizing it. When you feel that something is about to happen, when you visualize with such strength that reality seems to bend, when a thought comes with such intense emotion that something shifts around you, you are accessing this field. Thoth called it the matrix, not in the digital sense, but as a cosmic womb, a space of pure potential where everything is vibration in its purest state before it condenses into matter. In this field, time doesn't work the way it does here. What you feel, you project. What you believe, you manifest. What you resist, intensifies. That's why it's neutral. It doesn't judge, it simply reflects. And when your consciousness is awake, you interact with it actively. You shape, you influence, you create. Thoth knew this was the true spiritual technology. Not an external technique, but a state of inner alignment. Because when a human being thinks, they're not just thinking, they're vibrating. And the universe responds to vibration, not to surface-level intention. That's why the ancients used to say, to think is to create. But not in the mental sense, in the vibrational sense. Thinking with the body, feeling with the consciousness, aligning thought, emotion, and frequency until the field responds. And it responds. You've already noticed this. When you're in sync with something, doors open. The right people show up. Ideas flow. It seems like coincidence, but it's not. It's vibration in action. The field of creation, recognizing your frequency and manifesting what you already are inside. But few access this consciously. Most live trapped in automatic thoughts, reactive emotions, inherited beliefs. And all of that creates too. But it creates unconsciously. It creates chaos. It creates repetition. It creates stagnation. That's why Thoth said, know yourself and you will know the universe. Because by knowing your vibration, you begin to operate directly within the field that shapes everything. And this is not a spiritualized idea. Today, even science is beginning to admit what Thoth taught thousands of years ago. Modern physics, even while trying to maintain a materialist narrative, has started to find traces of the invisible. Not because it wanted to, but because the data began to force it. The behavior of subatomic particles doesn't follow the rules of traditional logic. They behave in strange, unpredictable ways until someone observes. The famous double-slit experiment showed this. When no one observes, the particle behaves like a wave. When someone observes, it changes. It becomes a particle. In other words, reality changes when consciousness enters the scene. The simple act of observing changes the behavior of matter. And this shook the foundations of traditional science. Because if consciousness affects the result, then it's part of the equation. And if consciousness is present, then the universe is no longer a blind machine. It's a living field, responsive, intelligent, exactly as Thoth said. But it doesn't stop there. Quantum entanglement shows that two particles can communicate instantly, even when separated by vast distances. If one changes, the other responds, as if there were an invisible connection between them. And this is not theory. It's measured. It's documented. It reveals that there is something beyond space, a link that connects everything, a field that is non-local, that respects neither time nor distance, a field that vibrates like a single organism. The code that unlocks your inner vision. Thoth never wanted you to believe in words. He always pointed toward a state, an inner place where truth reveals itself effortlessly, without reasoning. And it's exactly here that you begin to access the central code he left behind. But pay attention. This code isn't hidden in secret symbols or lost formulas. It's too simple to be complicated, yet too deep to be superficial. This code is vibrational. It happens when you combine three things: silence, attention, and subtle perception. It seems simple, but it requires a kind of presence that few people can maintain. The silence Thoth taught wasn't just the absence of sound. It was an inner space where the mind surrenders, where the chatter of thoughts loses strength and something finer arises, something that listens without judgment, that observes without interference. Attention is the second pillar. Not forced attention that tires you out, but living attention. The kind of presence you feel when you're in front of something sacred, even if you don't understand why. It's when you look at something ordinary and realize it's filled with meaning, because you stopped looking with your eyes and started seeing with your being. And subtle perception is the third point. It's listening beyond sound, feeling beyond touch, knowing that didn't come through logic, but landed in the soul like a scent no one sees, yet changes the whole room. When these three elements align, something inside you lights up. A center that was dormant awakens, and you begin to see the world from within it. This is true inner vision. It's not an image, it's a state. A kind of vibration where the separation between you and what exists disappears. Everything begins to respond differently. Life listens to you. The signs multiply. The answers come before the questions. You're no longer searching, you're recognizing. That's why this code can't be taught in words. It must be activated through direct experience. And if you've made it this far, you've already started to feel it. Because it's no longer theory, it's real. It's happening now. Your mind is open, your body is present, and your field is vibrating at a different frequency. And once that frequency stabilizes, there's no going back. You've already crossed the veil. The sensation is subtle, but undeniable. You no longer look at things the same way. Words carry more weight. Encounters gain new depth. Places emit signals. And you feel like something broke inside you. But not in the sense of damage. It was a shell that fell away. A structure that once protected you but also limited you. After that, you can't fit into the same stories anymore. You can't be distracted by what used to distract you. The surface no longer satisfies you, because now you've touched the origin. You've realized that everything is vibration. Everything is consciousness. Everything is a reflection of who you are. And that changes everything. But here comes the most important part. Seeing beyond the physical world is just the beginning. Because the real work starts now. The challenge is no longer perceiving. It's living with that perception. It's bringing the invisible into daily life. It's acting from consciousness, even when everything pulls you back into autopilot. Thoth always warned about this. Awakening is a portal, but it's not the final destination. It's a call to a new way of existing, a way where you don't react, you choose, where you don't depend, you create, where you don't follow the external flow, you vibrate a new field around you. And it's in this new field that your reality begins to reorganize. The same situations show up, but your response changes. The same people appear, but you see them with different eyes. Life goes on, but the one living it is no longer the same. Because now you understand you're here to remember, to create, to expand, and to live with presence. And the good news is, you're not alone. There are paths, practices, guides, and experiences that can take you even deeper. This was just the beginning. But now, you already have the foundation. You already feel the vibration. You've already accessed the soul's point of return. And in the special video we prepared, you'll go deeper into this awakening. You'll understand how to integrate all of this in practice, how to turn your vibration into conscious creation, how to live from the inside out and finally experience the reality you've always felt existed, but didn't know how to access. If you felt something different during this video, comment below right now. I crossed the veil. This phrase isn't just a confirmation, it activates a frequency. And when you write it, you anchor this new vibration within yourself and strengthen the field we're creating together. And don't leave just yet, because I've set aside a special video that takes you to the next level of this journey. It's showing up on the screen now. Click there, and I'll see you on the other side. What you're going to see there might change everything.